This presentation is for informational purposes and is not legal advice, as every claim is different. Viewing this presentation does not form an agent-client relationship with Carmella, George, or Jacksonville Veterans Disability Services. If you have specific questions regarding your claim, please consult with an accredited VSO, agent, or attorney. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How are you tonight? Some places it's still afternoon, but hope everybody is well. I told myself that I was going to come on a few times this week in honor of Veterans Day, just to give you guys a little more help. So I'm going to try to come on at least a couple more times this week. Try to give you guys a little more help in honor of Veterans Day. Thank you so much for your service. I am Carmella George. I'm a VA accredited claims agent, for those who don't know. And I simply just try to answer your questions and clarify the claims process for you. So you can always ask questions in the comments, and I'll try to answer your questions. Again, I'm going to try to be on a couple times this week because of Veterans Day, to honor your service and to help you with this claims process. So you will probably catch me again on Wednesday and Friday. That's my tentative schedule. But I'm here tonight taking questions, so ask away. Austin in the house. I am from North Carolina, so I'm in the Camp Lejeune area of North Carolina here on the coast. I love it here, born and raised, came back after college, and I think it's a wonderful part of the country. Okay. Let's see here. Let me switch it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm ready to go. Are in-service incidents from 2002 to 2005 non-combat yet documented in evaluations probable to support a claim? Very much so. Any documentation you have of in-service events greatly helps to your claim. It helps to prove that it happened in service, which is one of the biggest elements of a claim, a direct service connection claim. So anything you have that happened in service and you have it documented, that is A+ evidence. New to the process, my VSO had me put in 6 claims. Oh, great. I'm hoping they go well. Thanks for joining from YouTube. Hey, Carmella, do you think it's possible to change my discharge to a medical one after the fact? I think there are people that have done it. I'm not necessarily sure. I'm pretty sure that I've heard of it, but I do think it's difficult to do, and I do think you might need an attorney. But don't quote me on that at all. When it comes to med boards, after you have done your exams, do they only look at what you are med board for, or everything you claimed for your IDES? I believe they look at everything you claimed, but I'm not an expert on med board by any means. But I do believe they look at everything you claimed, and even if you didn't get an exam for it, you still might like get a 0% or something like that. I want to move to one of the Carolinas. Come on down. What do you suggest for someone that recently received 100% total but not permanent rating? I would find out what condition is not permanent, and if you feel comfortable enough, ask that that condition be made permanent. To do that, you need to follow 526EZ and ask that that condition be made permanent. They're going to give you another exam for that condition. So that part you need to know before you file and ask that it may be made permanent. But if you don't want to go ahead and file for it to be made permanent, then you need to know when your future exam is dated. So I would get my rating code sheet and find out when the future exam for that condition is scheduled for. Have you seen peripheral neuropathy claims with higher approval rating as primary or secondary when it isn't related to diabetes? Yes, I have. So I've seen, say, for like a shoulder claim at 20% and a neuropathy claim higher than that. So a secondary claim can definitely be higher than the primary condition, and it can be higher when it's not related to diabetes. What exactly is a congressional inquiry? So a congressional inquiry is when you go through your congressman or your senator to put in a request for you through the VA. That request can be on the health side, it can be on the benefit side, and they have congressional liaisons at every regional office who handle those inquiries. My advice is usually to make this one of the tools of last resort, because sometimes you get pushed in a pile with a bunch of other inquiries and it doesn't actually speed up your claim. It doesn't do what you intended for it to do. So it's not one of the first tools in my toolbox. Do they use any of your VA records to make a rating or just the CMP info? They use all of it. So your VA record should be considered in your rating. If they haven't been, that's a good basis for appeal. I have a higher level review that's in for a judge to look at how long are those taking to come back and what are they looking for besides the new evidence. So number one, at this point, higher level reviews are taking 5 to 6 months is what I'm seeing, and it slowed down a lot because of COVID. I know of some that have happened faster in like a month or so here recently, but generally my higher level reviews are taking at least 4 months. And they're looking for an error of fact or law. You cannot present new evidence at a higher level review. So they're not looking for new evidence. They're looking for error of fact or law that was committed in the last decision. Have you seen if it's best to do one claim at a time or multiple claims all at once? I don't think there's a specific answer to this. You're usually fine with putting all your claims in. I know some examiners don't like to do all the paperwork and like a whole bunch of claims, but generally that's not the case. So you should be fine with putting all your claims in at once. About how many medical record files need to be considered before a higher claim is considered? For a higher claim. So how many medical record files? If I'm understanding your question correctly, Mr. Broad, I think that you're asking how many medical records you need in order to file a claim for increase. And the answer to that is you actually don't need any. You can get a claim for 30% PTSD, a decision for 30% PTSD today, and tonight put in a claim for increase because you don't believe it's high enough. You can get a claim for a back condition at 20% tonight, and as soon as you have that decision, you can put in for a claim for increase on that back. So not many medical records are needed. It might be helpful to have some more proof, but not many medical records are needed. PTSD, headaches, hearing loss, tinnitus, TBI, and Gulf War syndrome. I am a combat vet and have a great Nexus letter from my vet center social worker and had CMP already. I think it went great. Hearing test. Will they give me 6 different CMP exams, do you think? No, you won't have 6 different CMP exams. You will have one for psych and one for the rest of the condition, usually, unless you require some type of specialist exam, which, well, you'll probably have 3 because you have to go to an audiologist for hearing loss. Well, actually, you have to go to an audiologist for hearing loss, and they might send you to a specialist for TBI. So, but I don't think you'll have more than 4. You definitely won't have 6. Headaches and tinnitus can be done in the same exam. It might just be done with TBI. So, I recently got out of active duty, and I was diagnosed with sleep apnea with CPAP while inactive. How can I continue receiving care with the VA? To continue receiving care, you need to register with the VA as soon as possible. I know that a lot of VAs aren't taking new cases, setting up new appointments for new veterans right now because of COVID, but you should try to get an appointment as soon as possible or ask for community care. But please try to continue getting care for your sleep apnea condition and making sure your CPAP is set right. I know that's a very, very important thing to do. So, receiving care with the VA is as simple as registering and filling out the application for health care with the Veterans Health Administration. VA hospital don't have my active duty medical record, but I have my medical records on CD. You could take your medical records to them. Why don't you have more claims to submit if you're 100% total but not permanent? You could submit those claims. That's one possibility. Do know that there's always the possibility that the more you touch your claim, the more chances you have to be reduced. And so you probably want to limit the times you're touching it unless there's some benefit to filing for more claims than 100%, like special monthly compensation or something like that. But you can always just ask that the condition that is not permanent be made permanent, so you're 100% permanent in total. The National Record Center in St. Louis can never find my records. So how would the VA rate me with my military claim? I have evidence in my VA records, but my evidence started in my military file. That's a tough one. When they can't find your VA records, it is absolutely, your military records is absolutely tough to file a claim with the VA. What the law says is that the VA is held to a higher standard when they cannot locate records, a heightened standard. But that's never really been defined. And so what you really need to rely on is your personal statement and buddy statement, as many as you can get to support your conditions. Hello, if I filed claim like a few years ago for shaving, it was denied but then approved just now. Why, and I use same evidence, can they back rate it from when they first did it? Probably not. There are very few situations where the effective date will go back to the original date of claim. Um, One of them being it will if it was continuously pursued, or if you filed a claim every year for the same condition. The other being if that new records were added to your file, new service department records were added to your file that were not previously part of your file that are relevant to the decision. That's the other way that it will go back to the original date. But those situations are few and far in between. So it will probably likely be the date of claim that's the effective date of your service connection. I get migraine headaches as well as regular headaches. I'm currently service connected for sinusitis. Previous migraine claim secondary to sinus was denied because of no service connection. I have a pending mental health claim. If that gets service connected, should I link the migraines and headaches to the uh, mental health or sinuses? If sinuses, I'd have to do supplemental claim. Previous migraine claims not because of no service connection. I think if the mental health gets service connected, you might want to try it secondary to that, or get new evidence and file it secondary to your sinuses. But I've seen both of them be very valid claims, so you're definitely on the right track. If you had surgery for service connected condition and got possible nerve damage, can that be rated? Yes. That would be what is called, you could either claim the nerve damage secondary to the service connection condition, or they have what is called a 1151 claim, which is a tort claim that says the VA made some type of error. Well, I don't know who did your surgery, so I can't say that. But if it was the VA that caused you some type of damage, then you can file a claim for that condition under the 1151. If I got sent to private doctors for my increase and they fill out DBQ, will the VA still send me to their doctors too? I'm already 70%, but put in for increase for mental health, migraines, back, and ankle. No, the VA will either send you to their doctors or they send you to a contractor. They won't do both. So if you've already been to contractors for your exams, you should not be expecting another exam. What is the process like for someone who joins Army Reserve after active duty but receives 100% during reserve? You're going to have to pay back the VA the days that you are on drill, that you receive drill pay. You're going to have to pay the VA back for those times. They will send you like a letter every year saying how much you owe and that type of thing. For a chronic condition, make you total and permanent, especially if you had this issue since 2011, but they just did surgery for it in 2019. I don't understand what you're trying to tell me there. Can you ask that question in a different format? I found several medical issues, and after being denied a few times, I finally invested in having a neurologist write a Nexus letter. How long does that take to the process through VA before I get rated? Probably 2 to 3 months. I have serious bowel problems, and now just found out that it is presumptive to Gulf War syndrome. I have had this problem since getting out, just never wanted to talk to my doctor out of being embarrassed. So you actually bring up a very good point. There are lots of embarrassing conditions, well, people would consider embarrassing, that it's hard to talk to a doctor about, that you could potentially get rated for. And first of all, you should not be embarrassed to talk to a doctor, because the doctor has probably seen lots of patients with the same conditions, and it is a condition, and it's something you're suffering with, and you need to talk to a doctor about it. But my whole point in saying this is that don't be afraid to talk to a doctor about your conditions. Get it on record, get the medical record, submit it to the VA, and go from there. But even if it's embarrassing, you deserve a rating for it. This goes for STDs. A lot of times I see people that don't want to talk about AIDS, HIV, residuals of herpes, other conditions, and you should not be ashamed to have to put in a claim for them, to be embarrassed to talk to a doctor about it. And you should get a rating if you contracted it and it's still a problem. If you contracted it in service and it's still a problem. Hey, can restless leg syndrome be secondary to anything? Yes, it can. I've seen it many times. If the VA suggested that I file a claim for some entitled disabilities they listed on my decision letter I received, which was hallux rigidus, bilateral plantar fasciitis, and bilateral dry eye syndrome, would I have CMP exams for them, and would I need to provide additional medical evidence? They probably suggested that you file for them because you already have enough evidence on record. So I would suggest that you file for them, and you will get CMP exams for them. But you likely don't need new evidence, and that's why they are suggesting that you file a claim for those things. Get a rating if you I don't drink beer, but thanks. All right, I was just told I have sleep apnea by the VA. I'm service connected for migraines. My neurologist ordered the sleep study. Should I go ahead and add sleep apnea as secondary to migraines? You can. You certainly can. I've done everything you told me to get sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. I finally got tired of the denials and put it on a VA judge hand. It's been about 3 months now. That's probably a good route to go, and you should expect it to be another 7 or 8 months before you get an answer. I'm going for my first exam. What should I expect? It depends on what the exam is for. Can you tell me what the exam is for? Do all claims require a CMP exam for raters to make a decision? This is an excellent question, and the answer is no. Not all exams require a CMP exam. Some claims there is enough, you provide enough private evidence, or there's enough evidence of record to make a decision, and they will go ahead and make a decision. That only happens, in my estimation, probably about 5% of claims. Usually they will schedule a CMP exam no matter how much evidence you have. My claim denied due to probably having in service but lost records. Some say no proof of care in first year out. I lost job and car in first year. What do I do? Write a personal statement, get buddy statements, and try to overcome that no proof. Look on TRICARE, the TRICARE website, and see if you can find those lost records. I don't know what years you served, but if it's more recent, sometimes you can find them there. But I know they go back at least 30 years for records on TRICARE. If irritable bowel syndrome include constipation or needed to go to the bathroom when you have anxiety? I'm not sure. I'm not a medical professional, but it sounds like that might be some of the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. I can ask one of the medical professionals in our group to do a post on it, but it certainly sounds like those are some of the symptoms, but I'm not a medical professional. Can you explain a little about how to file for secondary claim of bilateral radiculopathy and the rating for it? I have torn bulged disc and compressed vertebra, but the effect that affects both arms and legs. You just need to file for it secondary to your back or neck or shoulders or whatever is causing it. File a claim for bilateral radiculopathy of upper and lower extremities secondary to whatever is causing it. The ratings for nerves go like 10, 20, 40, 60, depending on how severe it is. Most of the time, I see 10% for nerves, but if it's moderate or severe, it can be higher. So definitely file for nerve issues if you have nerve issues secondary to joint issues. I had surgery on ankle in 2011 while deployed, but I got out and they sent me to community care. I went to outside doctor and they finally noticed it was Achilles tear, even though when overseas, instead of doing MRI, they kept doing X-ray. But in 2019, they finally did surgery through community care, outside doctor. Now I'm going to outside provider who wants me to go to neurologist for possible nerve damage from surgery. Can I get that rated now? And how? You certainly can. You just need to claim it and provide the evidence. You certainly can get that rated, especially because you had surgery on your ankle in service. Then it sounds like an Achilles tendon tear developed, which I believe is rated as an ankle issue anyway. And you have some residuals from that surgery, which sounds like nerve damage. And so that nerve damage can be rated secondary to your ankle. How do I feel for lack of missing medical records since being diagnosed on active duty till now? Like I said to previous questions, it's really hard to get service connected if you have missing medical records. You could try using personal statements and buddy statements, sworn statements, to establish that something did happen in service. You're likely going to have to take it to an appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals in order to get it service connected. But start at the lowest level and try. If they deny it, keep taking it higher. Take it to the Board of Veterans Appeals. If they deny it, take it to court. The Court of Veterans Appeals. And sometimes they will settle the claim. But do not stop trying. Good evening. I'm currently rated at 50%. If I get all of my treatment at the VA, should I keep the health insurance I have through my job, or is that redundant? That is completely and totally up to you. If you feel it's redundant and you don't need it because you get adequate service from the VA, then you probably really don't need it. But if you feel like you don't get the appointments you need, or when you get sick, you can't get to the VA immediately, then you might want to keep your health insurance. But you should know that they passed something recently called the Mission Act, which allows for, I think, 3 urgent care visits a year for veterans. And so that might be another thing to consider in your decision. Is there a time frame for supplemental claims? All I had to do was correct paperwork, and it's been 60 days. They're taking about 2 to 3 months on average now, I think. So, if you've already had exams, you should be expecting another month or so. If you haven't had exams yet, then you probably have another 2 months or so to wait. My Nexus letter was denied by VA because it was not signed by MD. Please go back and have the MD sign the letter and resubmit it. Do increase require a CMP exam? Yes, it does. I'm service connected for back and hip, and I've been having sharp shooting pains down my leg. Is that sciatic issues related to the back and hip? What I would claim would be, they call it radiculopathy. I would claim either nerve issues secondary to back and hip or radiculopathy of lower extremity secondary to your back and hip, and let them decide that it's a sciatic nerve issues, because you could have more nerve issues than sciatic and be rated for them. So try to keep the claim pretty general. Do you suggest paying to have a Nexus letter done for denied claims? This is a very interesting question and very relevant to a lot of people. I suggest paying for a Nexus letter in certain situations. The first thing you should do when you know that you've been denied and you need additional medical evidence, make a doctor's visit, get additional doctor's records on the condition. Try that, see if that works. Try going to your primary care doctor or neurologist or audiologist or whoever needs to write the Nexus letter and ask him for a Nexus letter first. See if you can get it done for free by your primary care provider. In the instances that you can't get additional records or that you can't get a Nexus letter done at no cost from your provider, then I might suggest paying for a Nexus letter. Most Nexus letters, I don't want to say most because all of them don't work. There's no guarantee with a Nexus letter. A lot of Nexus letters pay for themselves in a month or two of VA disability once you get your rating increased or get it granted. And so is a Nexus letter worth the cost? Usually, if the condition gets granted. If not, it might not have been worth the cost. So, do I suggest paying for a Nexus letter done for denied claims? I suggest trying to get a free one first. If you can't get a free one, then yes, I suggest paying for a Nexus letter. I just recently got rated and they paid me back pay for me and my son, but they did not pay me for my spouse or my daughter. I forgot to add my spouse's social security number and my daughter's college information, but I added the information on e-benefits recently and they approved the information. How long will it take for them to back pay me for them? It should happen pretty soon after you correct that information. If not, ask for an audit of your account with the VA. Call them and ask for an audit and see what that comes back with. I was recently rated 100% service connected. I noticed I'm receiving the SMC-K and S. Do I just receive the SMC benefits or will that be added to the 100% VA compensation? Right now, the letter only adds up to the SMC benefit. Thank you in advance. So any special monthly compensation is added to your compensation over and above the 100% rate. I think that's what you're asking, but I'm not necessarily sure. But you should be, if you receive SMC-K, that's usually for erectile dysfunction or female sexual arousal disorder. That's another $110 or so over the 100% rate. SMC-S is paid over the 100% rate. I was recently diagnosed with sleep apnea. Would you suggest trying to get it secondary to my PTSD or migraine? Yes, you can. When I had my CMP exam for PTSD, she told me when I got the CMP for TBI, they would send that report back to her and she marries them together. Makes sense? Yes, that makes sense. Because if the TBI examiner says that or the PTSD examiner says that they can't delineate the symptoms between the two conditions, then they're just going to combine them and give you one rating. I filed the same Service Connect claim twice in the past and was denied because they rated it as not service connected, although I had the surgery in the military. I filed the claim again recently. If it gets approved, will I receive back compensation? This time I resubmitted my DD-14 to show that I was on active duty. You will likely only be paid back to the date of claim, not all the way back to the original claim. I have sleep apnea, was diagnosed while in National Guard, and was not deployed because of sleep apnea. You will have a good chance of getting disability. Yes, you do, if it was during active service. I have been trying to obtain and increase benefits for over 20 years now. I am frustrated and tired. What do I do? Find a good representative and let them take some of the weight and burden off your shoulders and help you file your claim or appeal. Do not be afraid to appeal. If you keep getting denied at the agency level, appeal your claim to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. My military medical records mention I have chronic neck pain. I also had physical therapy for my neck while I was active duty. When I filed a few years back, they said it was not service connected, but it's in my records and I suffer from chronic pain and I've had PNT injections. Do you know why they would consider this not service connected? Because I didn't have neck pain prior to service and my military records mention it throughout. Unfortunately, it sounds like a case of a bad examiner. This happens sometimes. You get a really bad CMP examiner, the type of person who just says no to everything, and it matters little what your records say. They will just not service connected. Those type of people should not be employed by anybody having to do with anything for veterans claims, but unfortunately they are. I see it with a couple people here locally. And so what I would suggest is that in this type of situation, I would suggest that you try to get a Nexus letter from an outside doctor or your VA care provider saying that your condition is more likely than not tied to the neck condition that you had in service. If they will not do one, I suggest you paying for a Nexus letter because it will be worth it to you in the end. And saying that your neck condition, find a physician who really believes your neck condition, reads your records, and can say your neck condition was caused by your neck condition in service. I believe you, and I'm just reading the little note that you've written here, so I'm sure most physicians would believe you. What you need to do is get enough evidence to get to another exam where they will service connect it. Or either appeal to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. You have that option too. I had shoulder surgery December 2019. How can I service connect it from my time in the military? The doctor found it was a shoulder tear from my time in service. I had all my records. You just need to claim it. You need to claim it. If you have to write out a statement and connect the dots for the VA, please do that. But you just need to claim it. Let me go back to this question and say about the record and them saying it's not service connected, and say I would also get a copy of the CMP exam that was done and see exactly the reasoning the doctor used for rejecting your claim. That's what you want to know, so you can overcome that reason. Closing allowance. If I have a static condition, do I have to file every year for the closing allowance? The question is, does the Veterans Health Administration have your closing allowance or condition listed as static in their system? If they do, you do not have to file for it every year. Will the VA make a decision on my CMP for PTSD that was done a few weeks ago, or will they wait till my hearing CMP is done in December? They might make a decision or they might not. Sometimes they make partial rating decisions when they have part of the exams in, but a lot of times they wait until all the exams are in. So it's just a matter of when the next time somebody is supposed to touch your claim in the system to move it to the next step, on whether they choose to go ahead and rate it or not. I submitted a PTSD claim with supplemental of sleep apnea, complete with Nexus letters from this site's recommended doctor. I also received positive CMP for both claims. Today marks officially 1 year since submitted it to the VA. Oh, that's ridiculous. The claim has been deferred for 6 months. Do I need to file an extension appeal to keep the claim active? No, the claim is still active until they make a decision. So if you try to file an appeal right now, that appeal will be premature and it would not be processed. So you just need to wait until they make a decision. But if it's been that long, you might want to get a representative to look into what's taking so long. It might be that something in the system, the tracking is off on your claim, and somebody needs to raise some noise about it. So you don't need to get a representative for any other reason than to look into the status of your claim. I'm rated for low back and sciatic and have arthritis in knee and ankle. How do I prove secondary? What's denied? If you were denied, you're gonna need more medical evidence, whether that's a Nexus letter or additional medical record. I don't know without looking at your claims, folder, but you're gonna need more evidence. I'm trying to get my discharge changed to a medical retirement. I wish you the best. My supplemental claims for PTSD and IBS have been on we don't know your status for 130 days, and I know the status for supplemental claims say that, but is 130 days plus normal with the amount of time leading toward denial or approval or just indifferent? It's pretty neutral and different. It doesn't, the time of it's been pending, I don't know, status doesn't really tell you much of anything. I would call the VA and ask why the status says we don't know, and ask what the status of your claim is and where it's at. Have you had CMP exams yet? If so, what's the holdup? Have the results been returned to the VA? I would ask those type of questions. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea back in 2009. I had the same symptoms while serving in the military. Never knew what it was till my former wife convinced me to go be checked. I ended up with sinusitis and acid reflux while overseas. Can these be used to help me obtain a rating for sleep apnea? Thank you for everything you do for all of us, and blessings. Blessings to you too, sir, ma'am. Yes, those things can be used to help you get service connected for sleep apnea, because you can claim sleep apnea secondary to both of them, sinusitis and acid reflux. So I would try a claim secondary to those things and see how it turns out. My Nexus letter was done by a psychologist and it was denied. I claimed migraines as secondary. VA stated it was denied because he is not an MD. What should I do? Get a Nexus letter from a medical professional that's on the medical side or you can appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals. You have two routes there. You can appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals, or you can get a Nexus letter from an MD, a PA, a nurse practitioner, something like that. Can bruxism, teeth grinding, be secondary to major depression? Absolutely. I see it very often. How should I claim flat feet when it's not in my service record as secondary to something? Should I claim chronic fatigue secondary to sleep apnea? Absolutely. Is there a separate rating for chronic pain, or is it tied into your current disability? So what you don't want to do is just file a claim for chronic pain. You want to file a claim for chronic pain specific to something. Chronic pain of the hip, chronic pain of the feet, chronic pain in terms of mental health, and just put chronic pain, mental health in parentheses, chronic pain syndrome, chronic pain in your neck. Let the VA know what you are claiming chronic pain for. A lot of times I see it as a mental health claim, chronic pain syndrome, mental health. In that case, there is a separate rating for it, aside from your current disabilities, if you aren't already rated for some other mental health claim, like PTSD or depression. If I file for PTSD and the incident is not in my medical record, but I'm being seen by outside doctor for depression issues, and he stated that I had PTSD from the incident that I have explained to him, will I have a good chance to get it service connected by the opinion from the non-VA mental health professional? Yes, you will, and that is because you need to submit that evidence with your claim, not after your claim. You need to submit that evidence with your claim. You have a good chance because the VA examiner should take that evidence into consideration when forming their opinion. A lot of times when they see evidence from another qualified professional, they will consider that professional's judgment in their opinion. I have letters from my primary care provider as well as 3 companies I worked for since getting out of the Army, all stating that I suffer from headaches. Would that be enough for a headache claim? Yes, it will. Yes, it should be. I can't say that it will because that's up to the VA, but yes, it should be. I'm 20% and finding out that I may have been eligible for extra money for my children. I have joint custody. Could I still get money for my children and them not stay with me full time? Yes, you can get paid for your children if they don't stay with you full time, but you have to be 30% in order to get paid for dependents. So you can't get the paid for dependents at 20%. I had ankle, knee, and shoulder injuries during active duty 1980 through 1991. I have endured up to 2020, but I just started going to the doctor in 2019 and 2020. Will I have a good chance of getting these issues service connected since so much time has passed? That's really up to the examiner and the VA, but I'm not going to say it's a good chance, but you have a chance. You have a good shot. If you had those injuries in service, then it's already documented as in service. You've been going to the doctor recently, so you have current issues. You just need to get somebody that will connect the two. And hopefully that will be the CMP examiner. But if not, find an outside provider that will connect the two. For a negative or bad CMP exam, it's the only way to overcome it to obtain an outside Nexus by a private physician. Most times, yes, but it really depends on what the rationale or reasoning that the CMP examiner said it wasn't service connected. For instance, if they said that it's not service connected because you don't have a diagnosis or they found no objective evidence of a condition on the day of exam, then you need to be diagnosed with the condition. You might not need a Nexus. All you need is a diagnosis. If they said there is no nexus, then you need a nexus. If they said there was no event in service, then you need to establish that there was some type of something that happened in service. It all depends on what the reason it was denied for, and that's what you need to pay attention to. Does submitting new evidence on a legacy appeal claim push it back further, or even if it says waiting on a judge to review case? Sometimes it does in a legacy appeal, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the specifics of your case and what stage it's in when you submit that evidence. So in some cases, it can make it take longer. In other cases, it might not affect the timeline at all. Follow up to the question earlier. I had my CMP exams and was denied. I had no Nexus letter nor current diagnosis. I since have both Nexus letters as well as private and VA hospital diagnosis and treatment, both state and service connection. Have service treatment records with the VA, but still just we don't know your status. Have you had my CMP? It sounds like you've presented more than enough evidence and should probably be scheduled for more CMP exams. So that's what I would be expecting. It's probably just still in the beginning stages, and you're in this COVID time period where things got delayed or are lagging. So you might want to check and try to get try to poke your claim a little bit, poke around and see if you can get it moving, or get a representative who can help you. When you submit a supplemental claim, how do you file secondary? I didn't see a box to put it as secondary, just not sure how to file secondary. So when you submit a supplemental claim, there's a box that says, I have the application open right now actually. It says specific issues in box 13A. Let me see if I can share my screen. No, that's not working. So here's the application, supplemental claim application. What you want to do is in this box here, 13A, I don't know if you can see that well or not. Please forgive me if you can't. But what you want to do is in the 13A box, put here under specific issues, say you are claiming radiculopathy or nerve issues secondary to your back. You want to put radiculopathy secondary to back pain. Say you are claiming migraines secondary to tinnitus. You want to put right out migraine headache secondary to tinnitus. And that is how you claim something secondary. You just simply write it out. I'm 100% unemployability. Can I file for chronic hip and knee pain? You surely can. I might not suggest it, but you can. You said earlier in the conversation about how I need to talk to my Ptsd about my bowel problems. Will a letter from her alone be enough for IBS claim, yes, it's enough for a claim. It might not be enough to get service connected, but it's enough for a claim. And it will probably help inform the opinion of the examiner. I have tried several times to get compensation for tinnitus. How do they test for that, and what do I need to do? It usually goes a lot by what you tell them. And so if they are rejecting a claim for tinnitus, then you need to get a private opinion. Remember that hearing loss is the only condition that has to be written up by audiologists. Any provider can write you an opinion for tinnitus. So get a private outside opinion and try again. The VA scheduled me for surgery a week before my CMP for increase on extremity. How will this affect my CMP since they won't be able to do a range of motion test? They will say either that you have no range of motion or that they can't test. And if they say they can't test, what they should do is schedule you for an exam at a future date. But if they don't, make sure you ask for a high-level review or appeal that or something like that. Denied for PTSD. What can I do to change the decision? Get more medical evidence. You just mentioned a representative to help get my claim moving. You mean legal representation or just a VSO-DAV? VSO-DAV is what I'm talking about. You don't need legal representation necessarily to get a claim moving. They'll probably just draw your claim out. But you wanted somebody who can look into it quickly and look into the system and tell you what's happening with your claim and why it's not tracking the way it's supposed to be tracking. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis, fasciitis, right foot, but it's both. So can I do secondary to get left connected if VA podiatrist has diagnosed with? Yes, you can claim the left foot secondary to the right foot. Have you seen diabetes type 2 as secondary to either OSA or mental health or hypertension? Which condition of those is the best to connect diabetes to? Yes, I've seen it, and you should try it secondary to all three of those at the same time. I don't know so much about hypertension. It's secondary to hypertension as that being a valid connection. I'm not a medical professional, just telling you what I've seen. But I would try it secondary to all three and see how that turns out. File for PTSD. Has CMP exam received letter asking for stressor incident? What else should be submitted? Just a stressor incident letter. And any evidence you have that proves the stressor happened. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea from the VA. What needs to be done? What needs to do? Get rated if I file secondary to major depression insomnia. You most likely need to have a Nexus letter. I believe compensation for dependents is 30% up. That is correct. Last question, it looks like. Will you be taking new clients anytime soon? I'm personally not accepting any new clients until January. I'm just full packed to the brim. Have more on my plate than I could probably handle, but I love it and I love doing it, so I'll push myself through it. But do not wait for me to file your claim, move your claim, get your claim going, get new evidence, anything like that. There are plenty of other representatives, even in our group, on this page, around the U.S. that can help you with your claim. Find a good representative, get your claim going, and just don't wait on any one person to get your claim moving. You should go ahead and find somebody and get it going. So that's probably what I don't like keeping a wait list. because I don't want you to wait on me. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your service. Like I said, it's Veterans Day week. I'll be back a couple other times this week just to help and honor your service. And you guys take care and have a great night.